Tens of thousands of university students begin gathering spontaneously in Tiananmen Square, Beijing, the nation's symbolic central space. The students call for press freedom and other reforms. By April 22nd, students in crowds of varying sizes eventually joined by a wide variety of individuals also seeking political, social, and economic reforms gathered in the square. The initial government response was to issue stern warnings, but take no action against the mounting crowds in the square. Similar demonstrations rose up in a number of other Chinese cities. An intense debate ensued among government and party officials on how to handle the mounting protests. During the last 2 weeks of May 1989, martial law was declared in Beijing, and army troops were stationed around the city. However, an attempt by the troops to reach Tiananmen Square was thwarted when Beijing citizens flooded the streets and blocked their way. Protesters remained in large numbers in Tiananmen Square, centering themselves around a plaster statue called the Goddess of Democracy.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
Slogan, united we stand, divided we fall. But what we're seeing right now is division. Lines being drawn in the sand. Protesters versus frontline workers.
Alabama and Missouri just joined 40 other states that are urging people to stay home. That covers nearly 95% of the U.S. population.
Now to those demonstrations around the country against stay-at-home orders. The protesters rallying in state capitals, calling the orders too extreme, violation of their rights.
In April of 2020, the Burlington Police Department out of Indiana made a Facebook post threatening citizens by demanding they use this time to fix arbitrary victimless items on their vehicles like license plate lights. And this post reads, "You all better use this time to fix your cracked windshields, plate lights, expired tags, and insurance, because when this is over, it's game on." The Facebook post was received by plenty of angry comments calling out the police department for such a callous and ridiculous display.
I mean, this is probably one of the most unprofessional things I've ever seen, for them to use a line of emojis of cars for a police department. And the police department in Indiana, what's the name of it?
The Burlington Police Department.
So this Burlington Police Department is making taunts to American family. There's tens of millions of American families out of work. The other ones that are still in work are making less money.
Community is struggling. My husband is on unemployment for the first time in our life. And it's unwillingly that we're taking unemployment. We want to go back to work.
They're making these taunts. It's game on. It's game on. Is this not the most unprofessional speech that you've ever heard? And by the end of this, you're going to see that I believe they jumped the shark. And if you don't understand the phrase "jump the shark," it came from this sitcom called Happy Days.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
And it had a character in there named Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz. Supposed to be the coolest guy in the world.
Hey, observe. Whoa. Observe. Whoa.
But their ratings started to tank, and so much so that they had an episode in which Arthur Fonzarelli, who had a motorcycle, always had the best girls, everybody wanted to be like him. He was on a set of water skis in his leather jacket, and he jumped over a shark on his water skis. And after that episode aired, it killed the show. Plummeted. Because it was so ridiculous. It was so it was just, it looked absolutely ridiculous. They're steadily declining. The shows, they're losing the show. So they try to pull this stunt. So jumping the shark is the actual point in which you see somebody shoot themselves in the foot and it's over. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't going in the right direction anyways. But this is the one point in time where you can point out and say they jumped the shark. And I believe that's what the police have done in this nation. They've jumped the shark.
Why do you think the person behind this post, because it wasn't the police department, but why do you think this one particular officer, whoever the hell they are, Why do you think they posted this?
I don't know. This doesn't seem like it has any rhyme or reason to it, right? There's no rationale behind this. Whoever posted this, I guarantee you, is having a ton of backlash towards them besides the public, but from inside their own police department. Whoever had the ability to post that, I don't know whether it was the chief who has to check and proofread before this goes. I don't know how that works. But
If that's true, what you're saying, why didn't they delete it immediately?
In a recent case, the Supreme Court described social media platforms as the modern public square, noting that these platforms afford users the opportunity to petition their elected representatives and otherwise engage with them in a direct manner. Government officials who use social media accounts to carry out their official duties are engaged in state action and are therefore bound by the First Amendment. Thus, one federal appeals court recently held that President Trump's Twitter account is a public forum for First Amendment purposes, and that the president's practice of blocking users from the account on the basis of viewpoint is unconstitutional. Another federal appeals court reached essentially the same conclusions in a case involving a county official's Facebook page. Almost all of the courts that have addressed this issue have relied on the same basic analytical framework. By the beginning of June, the government was ready to act again. On the night of June 3rd through the 4th, tanks and heavily armed troops advanced towards Tiananmen Square, opening fire on or crushing those who again tried to block their way. Once the soldiers reached the square, a number of the few thousand remaining demonstrators chose to leave rather than face a continuation of the confrontation. By morning, the area had been cleared of protesters, though sporadic shootings occurred throughout the day. The military also moved in forcibly against protesters in several other Chinese cities. By June 5th, the military had secured complete control. Though, during the day, there was a notable, widely reported incident involving a lone protester momentarily facing down a column of tanks as it advanced on him near the square. On April 21st, 2020, Sarah Brady and others are seen on video arguing with Meridian police officers about the constitutionality of the decision to close the playgrounds. The officers in the video repeatedly ask the parents to take their children and leave the playground. The officers eventually make one arrest, Sarah Brady, and charge her with trespassing.
Wait, a COVID? Oh, so we got a COVID scare that we need to close down a park, but yet you have no gloves on and no mask. How scary could it be? You have no gloves on and no mask, but you're getting little kids to cry while you have their parents take them out of swings. And it's all over a COVID scare in which you have nothing on. And the people that they say are most susceptible to this are little kids and the elderly because of their immune system. So you went to a park of toddlers with nothing on, and you used the bird flu as reasoning for everybody needing to leave. I'm pointing out the hypocrisy, right? And let's remember this: there are sheriffs in Michigan. I think there's 3 or 4 sheriff's departments. We'll put it on the screen that have refused the governor's order.
Sheriffs from 4 different northern Michigan counties have publicly voiced concerns regarding Governor Gretchen Whitmer's stay-at-home orders. In a press release issued as thousands of residents protest at the state capitol in Lansing, the 4 sheriffs say they will not strictly enforce Whitmer's orders in their counties. While we understand her desire to protect the public, we question some restrictions that she has imposed as overstepping her executive authority. She has created a vague framework of emergency laws that only confuse Michigan citizens. Instead of strict enforcement, the sheriffs say they will deal with every case as an individual situation and apply common sense. Each of us took an oath to uphold and defend the Michigan Constitution as well as the U.S. Constitution and to ensure that your God-given rights are not violated. We believe that we are the last line of defense in protecting your civil liberty.
Bless this woman. God bless this woman. She is the new Rosa Parks.
This is what I'll try and explain to you. If you're going to go out and tell somebody to get out of a handicapped spot and then you park illegally yourself, That's not setting a good example. That's what I'm saying. If you don't understand that and you want to say I'm doing something wrong, I'm telling you you're wrong.
In the aftermath of the crackdown, the United States instituted economic and diplomatic sanctions for a time, and many other foreign governments criticized China's handling of the protesters. From the outset of the incident, the Chinese government's official stance was to downplay its significance, labeling the protesters as counter-revolutionaries and minimizing the extent of the military's actions on June 3rd through the 4th. The residents of Hong Kong have held an annual vigil on the anniversary of the crackdown, even after Hong Kong reverted to Chinese administration.
The night Sarah Bundy was arrested, 30 of the townspeople showed up on the public sidewalk outside the officer's house.
Will you protect my public property? That's never happened.
I wish you
This
guys
is a
would
special
do
privilege.
that.
We do it all the time. This is a special privilege. We do it all the time. This is the blue line. Special privilege from the blue line.
I wish you guys would protect us like
we don't get this special privilege.
Amen. I would like to say that people can go to Costco and touch all the things that they want in a closed environment, but mothers can't take their children to a park out.
That whole Costco thing, I totally get.
Yeah, well, I mean, Costco, Walmart,
So did you hear that analogy, Andre? That woman got arrested for being in an open air public park. But you could go to Costco, you could go to Target, you could go to Walmart in an enclosed environment and touch what everybody else is touching, and that's fine. Why? Because that's big corporations making money. Nobody makes money when kids are swinging on swings.
I want to make it clear to everybody, nice or not nice, the people will not. The people will not. I just want everybody to know, everybody here, all the officers, the people will not allow you guys to do this for very long. You will not go into parks and arrest people. You will not go into parks and arrest mothers, or you will not go anywhere and arrest us for exercising what our rights are. You do not have that right. We have, you have limitations.
I will pass that information
on. Well, I'm talking to you.
Yep.
And I'm talking to you and you and you. And if you would pass that on, that would be great. But we will not. We will not set by idle.
That's fantastic. The way this gentleman is saying it, he is being assertive. He is not being aggressive, but he's saying, here's the line in the sand. You do not, that is not under your color of authority. That is not under your color of law. You do not have that in your scope of practice. So we as the people, right, we run this country. We're not going to accept what you're doing. You work for us. You are a servant. You are a public servant. Your whole occupation revolves around servicing us. This is the moment where everything changes, because no longer can government say, oh, he's you can put him in a box, he's an auditor, he's an activist. No, this is the everyday people. This is the accountant next to the pastor, next to the secretary, next to the dentist. This is next to the preschool teacher, and they're saying enough is enough.
I have a right, we all have a right to petition for a redress of grievance to anybody who works in government.
You have the right to go to his door. You do.
You do have a right to go to his door.
Go with you, and then you hand it to him.
That is
not until you've been told not to come on the property.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are we? No. You don't get to make the rules here. It's called the Constitution of the United States.
Amen.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So what that paperwork is now, it is not a writ. It is not a writ. It is a petition in which the people have signed. One of the 5 liberties that you're afforded through the First Amendment to the Constitution is redress of government, right? When you don't like something that's going on, you have a right to collect signatures and redress your government officials. So that's what it is. They took it out and they had people sign it, and they want to serve him. as it being legal paperwork.
You also
You have the right to
can
do
you
it.
just go with
Have
it? Somebody serve that for you.
Someone
And that's
else
what the
will pick it
sergeant
up
is
and
asking
serve.
you to do to keep this a peaceable protest.
Yeah.
And that is not infringement.
I'm more than happy to help. I called the courthouse several times. They would not answer our call to serve it the proper way.
We want a witness.
We have, and when you serve somebody, it has to be handed to them, and we will be sure that that happens here.
I don't know if he'll answer the door. He wouldn't answer the door 30
Just
minutes
go
ago.
with him to the door. He's not
I'll
gonna
hand me
do
the papers
anything.
and I'll go up and bang
Okay,
on the door.
there's some sticky on the back, so just
If he doesn't
FYI.
answer, we'll tape it.
Yep.
Is that what you want?
We need a record doing it.
Now listen to this.
Is that what you want me to do with it?
Well,
We
this
need a record.
is what was brought up here is that we can have an officer of the law serve, right? That's what happened. That does happen. So Sergeant Arnold, I guess, is going to serve this. But we are asking that you knock on the door and see if he'll come out so we can witness it
But
to
he
be
also
served.
said he's willing to paste it to
I'll
the
paste
door.
it to the door also.
He
doesn't
doesn't
Thank you,
answer.
sir.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Some nice
cops around. Okay.
People don't answer, so we just leave it.
Sergeant. You now have children who are afraid of police officers. It's very sad today. So we're here.
Yes, we are here at the home of the officer who arrested Sarah Brady for playing with her children at the park today. We are serving him with a redress of grievances.
Putting it on the door right now.
Officer is putting it on the door.
He's putting it on the door.
What you saw them give that paperwork, and you heard the gentleman that was leading the protest. You heard him say that we had called the courthouse all day today. Now, where I think they made the mistake is that they left it taped to his door. Now, I don't know what a redress of a government through petitions, which is you have the right to petition your government. That's said in the First Amendment. I don't know what legal avenues you have because of that. But legal papers almost always have to be handed to the person. It's just like a certified mail. It has to be signed for. They cannot leave it in your post box because you got to see that you got it. He could say they blew away, right? He could say they were never there when he got there, when he opened his door. So now he's not subject to any of the terms that he should be subject to if it was hand delivered to him. Because when you hand deliver something to him, then he is subject to that law.
The man confronted the lead tank, standing directly in front of it. The tank stopped and tried to go around the man. The man moved with the tank, blocking its path once again. At one point during the standoff, the man climbed aboard the lead tank and appeared to speak to whoever was inside. The man was eventually pulled away by onlookers. To this day, we don't know who he is and what happened to him, but he remains a powerful symbol of defiance.
Tank Man the protester, whichever nickname you want to call him, a man who's still not been identified to this day, is a picture of a citizen refusing to bow to nepotism, to corruption, even in the face of insurmountable odds. There are certain absolutes that we've learned throughout history. One of them is stifling people's rights and corruption will always be challenged, no matter the odds. This video out of Idaho of the townspeople gathering in front of the arresting officer's house is the townspeople with pitchforks and torches outside of Frankenstein's castle. This is the watershed moment. No longer are Americans willing to sit idly by as police contort, pervert the American Constitution. This is the town dentist, the baker, the town secretary, the kindergarten teacher. This isn't some outlier activist group. This is your everyday people. American law enforcement has jumped the shark. There was a time when they violated one person's right at a time. Now, with the introduction of technology, they're no longer able to do that. They've jumped the shark. I think this video and others like it from around the country have shown that the American people are mad as hell and they're not going to take it anymore. It's also shown that some law enforcement offices and departments have good leadership. And are willing and realize what their role in society is. Comment below is a Sarah Brady arrest in which the townspeople, pitchforks and torches, showed up at the arresting officer's front door. Is that the watershed moment? Did the police jump the shark? Leave your comments below. I'm Disorderly Product News. Good night!